Broads Media.
I want to rip my eyes out. I do. I won't, but I do. Now, before I express my feelings, because I haven't even started yet, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that thumbs up button. I greatly appreciate it. If you want more Broads Media, well, of course, you can add Sports Talk with Broads to your podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. You can leave a 5-star rating and a review. That also helps tremendously. And if you are interested in Coffee with Broads live streams that are every Monday and Thursday morning at 11 a.m., where we sit back, we kick it here on YouTube. It's very chilled. It's super fun. If you want access to that, you have to join the YouTube membership here for $4.99 a month. The information is down below in the description. And you also get the link to our Discord where we get to chat 24/7 throughout games. It's a lot of fun. So if you're interested, the information's there, and enjoy the show. They crumbled. The Sixers crumbled in the fourth. No field goals. You can't find any shots. You can't score at all. Here's the final 5 minutes ticking down. Every time the ball was being moved around the perimeter, there was no confidence. It was almost a hot potato. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. Then we're living on Tobias Harris. Our season's on the line with Toby in the corner. That can't happen. There was so much sloppiness. Kelly Oubre fouls McBride for 3 free throws. Kyle Lowry picks up a foul underneath our own basket. There was miscommunication on the free throw miss where Maxey and Oubre don't know what the plan is. It's the fourth quarter of an NBA postseason game at home when you're down in the series. How do you not know what you're doing? It's unbelievable. What else went wrong? The offensive rebounds. Josh Hart had a billion himself. It's a joke. You failed miserably in a game that was so competitive and so fun. That was playoff ball. Jalen Brunson taking what Joel Embiid did to him and shoving it right back into his face. That's what that was. That was high-nature competitive fire. Sure, yeah, let's go with that. I don't know, it sounded a little goofy. But those are two legitimate stars in the NBA going face-to-face after an elbow to the shoulder to the chest. That's good stuff. That's playoff ball. The third quarter itself deserves its own podcast. I was thinking I was going to do a 4-part pod and drop one every 6 hours because there was so much meat and potatoes in each quarter, except for the fourth quarter. No, there was only 16 points to discuss. 16 points. You're so desperate, you have to throw Joel Embiid out in the second half with one face, one knee. Most people have one face, but one eye, one knee, and go play the entire second half. The dude's gassed. The dude has nothing left in the tank. But that's what happens when Buddy Hield is a zero. Maxey evaporated at times. The max contract player, Tobias Harris, sucked. When I looked at this matchup, I deemed the Sixers to have Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, which is an advantage against Dante DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson. I gave Jalen Brunson a ton of respect because I knew that kid was special. I knew that kid was special. If you paid any attention to what he was doing with the Knicks, that dude is something. So he was going to make an impact. He wouldn't shoot 8 of 29 for every single night. The guy responded to Joel Embiid's toughness there with the shoulder and the elbow coming in the lane. Good for him. That's high competition at the highest level. But this team, if they were going to win, it starts with Embiid and then goes to Maxey and then goes to others. But they need help. Buddy Like that can't happen. Tobias sucking. That can't happen. If that's the case, I give the advantage to the Knicks. And I'm not asking for a lot. I'm just asking for you not to fall apart and look like a AAU 16-year-old team when you're failing. Because the second Embiid hits the bench, your team's minus 6,000. So you have to force him out there and play with this fuel tank on zero. Of course it's going to look like that from him. I don't know why he passed up the open jump shot, tried to drive the lane. Didn't make it. Oh, don't forget that Batum thinks he's 24 years old again going up. I admired the first one. The second one, stupid. Put it in the damn basket! So, yeah, I'm aggravated. Where do you go from here? Series should be 2-2. I'm not going there. Just wanted to plug that in for half a second. Let's take a listen to Mark Jackson on NBC Sports Philadelphia. This is on the postgame show. This was his first initial reaction as they went from the game broadcast back to the studios. Here's what he had to say.
The disappointing thing is, late in the game, it just seemed like the Knicks had more oomph than us. They had more energy, more fight in the game. But I thought we played well for a couple of quarters. But this game is 4 quarters long. We learned in game 2, we don't finish out games. What happens? This team, the New York Knicks, at one point in the 4th quarter, every shot they had 4 guys crashing the boards, which is unheard of in today's NBA. NBA teams don't believe in crashing the boards because you give them fast breaks. Their mentality is we'll send 4 to the glass, just make sure they don't get the rebound, and that happened majority of the 4th quarter.
Now let's go look at the Knicks. They're down Mitchell Robinson. They're down a man named Bogdanovich. That happened mid-game. Hartenstein's picking up all these fouls. The 3rd quarter, Joel Embiid was getting to the line. All right, guys were putting their hands around his forearms. He'd do the standard Joel Embiid flail the arms. You get your stuff stuck in the cookie jar, you're going to get caught. And that's what happened. So he's earning all these free throws. They're in foul trouble with their size. And you still got your ass kicked with some of those rebounds late. It's impossible to be that bad on the glass. Seriously, box out. Compete. Your season is on the line. And that's what you give me in the 4th? It sucks. It truly was a fight filled with constant haymakers back and forth. That was a damn good basketball game. At one particular time, hand to God, I got lost in the wow, this is a beauty of sports moment over my fandom of the Sixers. I was admiring Jalen Brunson. I hated it. But I was admiring what it means to hear Knicks fans. It boiled my frustration like no other. And then in a sicko type of way, I actually admired how awesome this dogfight was and that element that added to the heat of the moment. And that's what grew me up on sports. That's when I was growing up, when I changed that mentality with my love for sports, it was all about the beauty of the moment. And it's been a while since I had something captivate me in the game the way this did. And I was feeling it. Dawn Staley on the sidelines, AI and her dapping up and taking hugs. Dr. J. I mean, this was electric stuff. Dawn Staley's the one ringing the bell. You lose. You lose in the 4th in a typical Sixers way. They had no idea what to do when the game was on the line. Whether it was a mixture between Lowry and Maxey with the 2-man game up top, when the ball was swinging, no one looked like they wanted it to be in control. Just a hot potato. No! Kelly Oubre popping a 3 at the top of the key, just nonchalantly steps into one. No! How? How are we here where we're this deep into it and we're struggling to execute an offense and have an identity with our third coach. And I'm not just blaming the big man. This dude does not have juice right now. Doesn't have juice. Dude's never played an entire second half after you come back from a meniscus surgery and having half a face. We need you right now, kid. The poor guy. He's getting zero all around. Doesn't mean he's perfect. He's not perfect. Doesn't mean he didn't make mistakes. He absolutely 1,000% made mistakes. But we can definitely look at, once again, another part of the downfall is whenever he leaves the floor, you look like a 3-win basketball team. A 3-win team. And in 48 minutes, if you get 40 out of the big fella, that means you have to survive for 8 minutes. And because you can't even survive 3 seconds, he's got to be out there 24/7. He doesn't have that type of structure. That's not Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, when he hits the ground here and has zero left in the tank, he's done. He's done. Sickening. You know what makes it worse, too? Milwaukee's dealing with a lot of injuries, right? Doc Rivers is a disaster. Giannis and Damian Lillard completely banged up. This might be worse than the Atlanta Hawks series, just in regards to what opens up in front of you if you get past the Knicks. It's a second-round exit type of matchup. This is right here. This is a second-round matchup that happens to be in the first round. That Indiana Pacers team can beat Milwaukee, and that smells more like a first-round matchup than what this is. I'm just saying, if you get past the Knicks, what's waiting for you to get to the Eastern Conference Finals is right there. And the vision I see right now is a fucking bullshit-ass Knicks-Celtics Eastern Conference Finals. I'd rather jab knives into my eyeballs for 3 straight hours every day for an entire month than watch those two teams play in an Eastern Conference Finals. I just wouldn't watch. I wouldn't emotionally be able to handle it. And then I'm pissed because I get robbed of a conference final in playoff mode. Because I just can't stand either team. I do want to make this note, though, before we take some calls here on the Anytime Hotline. And that is, I don't like what Joel Embiid did when it was Josh Hart underneath the basket. It was Josh Hart, right? Not Dante DiVincenzo. I'm just forgetting off the top of my mind. When they did the replay and he did the double tap, the first initial foot hitting his leg, I don't believe it was intentional. Then he did hit him with another one on his way backwards. I don't like that. I don't like that. That's now twice in this series that I thought Joel Embiid did something brutal. Now, I do not relate a hard foul in the paint or a shoulder to someone's chest in the paint. That's just playoff basketball. That's this time of the year. Every inch on that floor matters. Every single possession. You know, it's funny. All these people bitch that today's athletes are soft, and then when they actually let them play like 90s hoops, all of a sudden Knicks fans are crying like no other. And I cried after game 2 because that was an embarrassment. But what I realized is I started to understand the identity of the series. And the way this was going is, this is an old school junkyard type of matchup. It says, let's roll the ball out on the concrete, double rim, local park. I'll catch you and your fucking squad there. Let's go at it. Tough fouls, elbows in the jaw. Once we got past game 3, I sort of seen the style of fight, especially hearing Tom Thibodeau and what he was saying to some of the media members for the New York Knicks and all that. So, you know, you kind of understood that it was going to be a dogfight. So, yeah, game 2, I bitched. Game 3, I bitched. But that was quality basketball in regards to entertainment, hardcore, letting the fellas play. It was good stuff. good stuff. So I'm going to focus more on that than just the nitpicky of how bad the refs are, because the refs suck. I mean, it is what it is. But now that we're in game 4, I think the focus is it's scrappy, it's ugly, there's adversity both ways, it's intense, foul trouble's real. You never know what you're going to get from the Zebras. You just got to hope and pray it falls your way, but put your head down and go battle. And that's why with these rebounds at the end, it's on you! It's on you at this point. Get a board! Why's it got to be so damn difficult? So I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like that from the Embiid front. I think he crossed the line twice this series, and I like bringing an edge. I like the fact that he plays a villain. I got no issue with it, and he's going to hear it in Game 5 up in New York, and if you're going to play that role, you have to back it up. That's my number one thing. I have no issue if you take on that crown, and you're the bad guy, but you got to ball out. That's all. That's all. Because trust me, from experience, and I've told this story before, I remember when we were playing in the playoffs, we played Connor Clifton, who now plays in the NHL. We're up 4-0. I look him in between the eyes in the second and third period, and I'm chirping in the depth. That dude goes off and gets 4 points, ties it up. They win in overtime and send our ass packing. That was a learning moment. I shut my mouth the rest of my damn career, essentially, after that one. You know what I'm saying? Hey, trust me, I've been on the other side. So it hits a nerve. It hits me harder than it hits most because I know, and you can't do it. So you got to go answer. It's on him. And he's done a lot of great things this series. Done a lot of great things. But I think he crossed the line a couple of times. And I don't know. Does that take away from other parts of his game? Is he someone who thrives off that? And I know I'm using a lot of hockey comparisons here, but Brad Marchand, for example, for the Boston Bruins, that's what makes him tick. Travis Konechny, when he's a pest, when he's annoying, when he's in your face, that's what makes him tick. So is Joel Embiid that competitor that utilizes that to fuel him, to get him going? Or does that give him maybe 90%, but that 10% is focused in the wrong spot? You know what I mean? Excuse me. You can utilize energy the wrong ways in such an emotional 48-minute action. Is that happening? I'm just asking questions, that's all. I think it was more fatigue than anything else. I don't think it's how he approached it from a mental side or from anything like that. My true, honest answer is I think it's more along the lines of he just can't hold up that much time at the end, and his teammates put him in a tough spot because they've been nothing burgers, except for Campaign, who he did hit us with one of those no, yes! threes, and then he took a charge as well. But nobody else. Batum thinks he's 18 again. Buddy Hield is unacceptable. Tobias is not good enough, even though he had a couple of buckets, couple of defensive possessions that I admired. It's not good enough at the end of the day. Maxey wasn't good enough. You can't just beat the Knicks with the way they play and the way that they're coached single-handedly without others playing roles. It's just not what happens when you're playing a team that plays with that level of energy and that type of fight. You got to be as one. You can't be having miscommunication with the game on the line. Are we going to hit the free throw? Are we not going to hit the free throw? Oh, I tried talking to them. I thought I told them when Lowry's sitting on the bench. It's garbage. It's garbage. It's losing basketball. It really is. But, man, I'll tell you what. That third quarter was absolutely insane. Insane. My wife just sent me a picture of my dog sleeping in the kitchen behind our table, and she only does that when she's scared. So I'm like, she's probably hearing me scream. So I'm not going to lie. Sometimes she curls up into a little ball at the edge of our bed when she gets nervous, and there's times where I'm just doing my thing. Listen, I try and tell her, yo, Zola, I love you to death, but the Sixers drive me nuts. It's year 5 of this, 6 of this, 7 of this, 8 of this. Every year we add another year to this. Dude, I don't know how much longer I can take it. I apologize. I just need about 30 minutes to get this off my chest. But even when I fall asleep at night, this one's going to hurt. This one's going to sit for a long time. This one hurts. It hurts. It hurts because you look just as bad as anything that I've ever seen before. You got to be past this stage, okay? If it looked this way with Ben and Joel year 1, you think to yourself, okay, year 1, it's painful, but you got to learn. You got to learn. You got to know Well, you got to be past the learning stage of how to play in the fourth quarter of an NBA postseason game at home. At home. When everyone's behind your back. Even the large portion of Knicks fans that were there, it's still a home game. Now I'm looking over to my damn screen and I see the Phillies blew a lead. It's never easy in my life. Let's go to the phones.
Fuck! Fuck! Could have bought a bucket of stew. Where was Embiid that whole fourth quarter? Fuck! I should have known. Why is Joel Embiid on his hands and knees with 4 minutes left to go in the game? And he's not. Bro, I saw him on the wing, not engaged with the play. Why is my star player, my best player, my number one option on his hands and knees in the fucking quarter with 3 minutes left? You're not going to win a game if that happens. You're not. You're not going to win shit. I'm tired of this. Fuck!
I believe the answer is, while removing the bias, if I'm just looking at it objectively, if I can remove the bias, he had nothing. That's why you saw it. He had nothing. If he wasn't completely out, then he wouldn't be hanging on his knees or standing there. It goes, either you take him off the floor and you know what's going to happen, or you keep him on the floor and it's an unknown. Maybe he has enough, maybe he doesn't. But we know the alternative is a failure. So there actually are some Sixers fans that are ripping Nick Nurse, saying you got to get him off the court for maybe 2 minutes in the fourth. You got to find a way. Maybe you look at when Brunson sits and you try and match some things up and just try and maximize maybe those minutes in that time. You just got to be way better than the worst basketball I've ever seen to give Embiid a chance when he hits the floor again. And I understand where you're coming from, but there's no denying that we know the results when he leaves. There was a time in the beginning of the second quarter, or excuse me, in the beginning of the third quarter, where we were going on a nice run early, and instead of being happy about it, the entire Sixers Twitter was going, all right, this is great and all. You're trying to build up some points in a heavy lead now because we know when Embiid has to go to the bench, this team is screwed. So you couldn't even enjoy positivity and a good run because you were waiting for those moments. The reason I bring that up is if you come to that conclusion prior to taking Embiid off the court, then isn't trying something different the move? It didn't work. But guess what? The other one doesn't work either. That means you tried everything and you just don't have the answer. You don't have the answer. And you don't have the answer when your team doesn't step up. When Tobias isn't good, when Buddy Hield is unplayable, when Tyrese wasn't good, when you're drawing, or not drawing fouls, but when Kelly Oubre is fouling McBride for three, when Kyle Lowry has a foul underneath the basket, those are losing plays. Losing plays. So here's Embiid after the game. This is Joel Embiid on being down 3-1. One at a time. We know we're good enough. We got no pressure. We're the 7th seed, down 3-1. A lot of guys are hurt. I don't know why we feel the pressure. I don't know why we would feel the pressure. So we should just go out and play our best basketball, one at a time. Win one. Come back home, win another one, then game 7. I'm looking forward to it. No pressure. So I think this is sort of a mental approach with it. I don't like going with we're the 7th seed. I got no problem with, look, we got no pressure now, meaning we got to give it all we got. Like, this is what it is. I would actually make the argument this is more pressure because your season's on the line. But to play loose and just say, let it rip, okay? Just leave everything on the court. There's no pressure. Just go play ball and see what happens. I think that's sort of what he's trying to get out of it. I don't like to, we're the 7th seed, so we're not supposed to be here anyway kind of thing. Now, I didn't hear the tone. I'm just reading the quote via Twitter. So I do understand that sometimes when you hear it, when you see it, it tells a completely different story. But yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's not anything crazy in regards to the quote, but that's just me maybe nitpicking it a little bit is, come on. I mean, you go from, we're the better team, we're going to win this series to, hey, we're the 7th seed anyway. You're not a real 7th seed. You know you're not a real 7th seed. And you made that pretty obvious about, one press conference ago? So don't necessarily love it. Don't hate it. It's not crazy. Not going to be the difference maker. All right, I'm just pointing it out. Let's go to Amadeo.
I am done with this franchise. This franchise just screams loser energy. Holy shit. I got Ben Simmons flashbacks from Joel Embiid passing up that wide open shot, trying to go and draw a foul. Like, why are you passing up that play? It just doesn't make sense. and the miscommunication all over the game. It's just embarrassing. It's sad to watch. How does no one know that Lowry is purposely missing that free throw? How do the miscommunication throughout the entire second half that leads to out of bounds plays, that leads to turnovers? It just can't happen in these stages of the game. It's unreal. And what also loses you the game is that your bench is utterly useless in the non-Embiid minutes, because then you force Embiid to play 99% of the game because Paul Reed is useless. And he's gassed the entire time. Your offense disappears the entire fourth quarter because Joel Embiid is gassed. Maxey couldn't do anything. He was terrible in this game. And let alone the refs. The refs are always going to be bad. That's going to be a given. And then for the goddamn Philadelphia fans that allow the New York Knicks to take over the Wells Fargo Center is an utter joke. I don't care the excuses. I don't care that, it's cheaper to get down to Philadelphia than it is to see a game in Madison Square Garden. Okay? That doesn't make it acceptable. That's a terrible excuse. Philadelphia fans should be ashamed for allowing that to happen, and this Sixers franchise should be ashamed for putting us through all this torment. Ridiculous.
I agree, but guess what? You have to take it on the chin, because when you win the game, you could talk that smack. When the Vikings lose and we taunt them for skull, guess what? You just have to shut up and turtle and hide yourself into a corner and then come out when it's time, right? To leave the bedroom when it's time. Leave that corner, leave time out when it's time. Right now, the Knicks are winning. Jalen Brunson's balling out. He almost puts up a 50-burger of his own. They're putting jerseys on statues over in South Philly. What are you going to do? You fucking lost. And you lost some big-time games here because of your lack of rebounding, and they're putting their effort in on the glass and swarming the glass with multiple different guys. They're outworking you on the glass in crunch time. What are you going to do? I don't know what else to do other than take it on the chin. Yeah, I'm pissed off with a lot of the fans that allow for that to happen. It is a joke. A joke. A joke that people are here taking over our home court advantage. MVP chants for Jalen Brunson that are loud as hell. How are we going to stop it? I don't have the answers. Now, it's funny looking back at a couple of key moments that I thought might be the difference maker. If the Sixers were to win, Deuce hit a three after a wild sequence. This was in the first half. And Maxey had a sidestep jumper and then also found Lowry for a transition three to end the first half. And I just thought it was enough to have a response. The Knicks were coming. They were scoring points. When Joel Embiid left the floor, the whole entire game changed. So for Maxey to answer, then Lowry to answer for three, I just thought it was awesome. I'm like, hey, that was it, baby. That was it. That turned the tide, and you needed it to happen. Then they start out the second half with this huge wave, and I'm like, yeah, baby, I'm going to tie back. I thought it was a genius. I thought it was a flat-out genius calling out the turning point. Here I am looking like a dope. And then there was another time later in the game, I'm like, okay, now we'll get to this one. There's two huge momentum swings. The first one, I thought they answered. The second, they did not answer. And that really hurt you here. This one was when Campaign had a block on Brunson, and then Oubre had a wide open three on the other end. Some of these notes crack me up mid-game. When I'm just typing super fast, Bogdanovich isn't even really Bogdanovich in here. It's phonetically spelled due to not actually having my autocorrect on. Now, where I agree with Amadeo is the most frustrating part of this all is not being able to be efficient down the stretch. That's just clueless, bad basketball. Look, if you lose because you go back and forth, and both teams are hitting the jugular nonstop and you're swinging, fine. You might lose a basketball game, but that just means both teams were playing insane. This was more along the lines of you were terrible as Bryson Stott hits his second home run of the day. Ew, Stotty! This is me pretending I'm happy. I'm not actually happy. Not because of anything Stott's doing, because I'm in significant pain from my basketball team. Let's take another.
Broads, I'm tired of losing, dude. I'm so sick and tired of this team losing every year in the playoffs. We are right up there with the Mets and Cowboys as the loser organization
Lightning.
of sports.
Or not Lightning, Maple
Like,
Leafs.
when you can't get a rebound, when the Knicks don't have their two big men, there's no hope for this team. A garbage roster design with a garbage game plan in the fourth quarter for a star who's going to get blamed for everything that the team does around him. I'm fed up. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this team. You got to fix this. You have to fix this. I'd love them to win the series and win the next 3 games. Do you really see them doing that? Is this team really serious when they can't grab a rebound when you're 26 in rebounding?
No.
I can't wait to see Daryl Morey signed Isaiah Hartenstein for 3 years and way overpay him.
Oh, come on. That's unfair. Daryl Morey didn't pay Al Horford. That wasn't Al Horford and the Daryl Morey relationship. That was an Elton Brand thing. And to be honest with you, I didn't even hate it in theory. I just hated how bad it actually was. But anyway, today's not the day for that. What they're going to do is sign Paul George. And what's not going to work is signing Paul George. That's what's going to happen. That's what my crystal ball tells me. They're going to go all in on PG-13 at this point in his career. Tie him up with Maxey and Embiid and see what happens. That's what they're going to do. You think that's enough? I sure don't. All right, everybody. Fun times. Am I right? That's right. Great. Had a blast today. Lovely. Catch you on the next one.